I'm having this really heavy feeling in my heart to talk about the school shootings that have happened recently. And I really wish I knew where to begin, because I don't. And I've tried talking about it in a previous video, but I don't think I wasn't able to say everything that I wanted to say at that time. Firstly, two of my friends from high school go to Seattle Pacific, and I just recently found out, and I don't know why I didn't know this before, that a friend of mine, his sister, also goes to Seattle Pacific. And the day of the shooting, I wasn't aware that it had happened until I got home around 10 o'clock. And I turned on my computer, and the main MSN page was talking about a shooting at Seattle Pacific. And it took a few minutes to click. It was mostly that I was just awestruck that it had happened in the first place. But it took a few moments for me to realize that people that I know go there. So I rushed off my bed, grabbed my phone, and called my friend, waiting for her to pick up. And when she did, I broke down in sobs. Because a lot of the times you never think that these things will hit so close to home, and they do. She's fine. The other two are fine. I mean, I don't know anybody else up there, but the sound of her voice was so quiet, so just, and there's no words to describe how shattering that experience is. There's none. And so when I found out that it was a senior that had been killed, I wept for most of the night. I didn't know him. You don't have to know these people. But to think he was so close to being done, a kid that the shooter didn't know, basically just some other person to wipe off the planet, and that was all this kid was to the shooter. But to all of his friends and family, he was so much more. He had so much hope, so much. There was so much there were so many possibilities for him. So many avenues that he could take. I mean, so young, so happy, so full of life, and in one brief, sweeping, haunting moment, he was robbed of it and was killed. And there was something, I mean, I can't even put that into you can't articulate how saddening that is. There's not there's not a voice strong enough or articulate enough to convey that amount of pain and disappointment and shame. And then, of course, in the same week, there's the Reynolds High School shooting. Again, getting closer to home. And why do people idolize killers? I can understand the appeal or the intrigue of trying to understand a dark side. I get that. But to not have enough of a conscience to understand that you are wiping out souls that you don't even know, that have done nothing to you, as a mere game, I don't get that. I don't understand that. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Brianna, about being bullied, and I do understand the impact of bullying. And I do think that people need to think about what they say and how they say it, and understand that the words that slip off your tongue can affect people around you. I'm not saying that that is a justifiable reason to go shoot up a school, but it can be a form of a trigger. I grew up with verbal, emotional, and mental abuse. And so did my friend Brianna. Actually, she dealt with physical abuse as well. And there were times in my life where I thought I was at the end of my rope. That I have had enough. And I just died inside. They were the worst years of my life. And so Brianna and I agreed that we understand how people can be pushed to that moment of utter desperation, of not being able to absorb anymore, and then lashing out. I mean, Brianna and I understood that. But both of us, we never did lash out. Instead, we took it out on ourselves in one way or another, because we also understood that the lives of other people were dear to us, and that we would gain nothing by harming other people. And we also did not yearn to become the people that hurt us. So, and I think people need to think about that more. People who are being bullied need to think about the fact that taking it out on people you don't know, on anyone, does not make you any better than the person that is bullying you. It doesn't. That just turns you into the person that you hate the most. It's pretty simple. And it just, every day, I wait to hear, and I can't believe I say I wait to hear, But I'm just expecting to hear on the news or on the radio that there was another mass murder in a school or a college, or in a store or in a movie theater. Like, I'm expecting it now because it's happening so often. I'm sorry, people, this isn't The Purge. This is reality. This is real life. This isn't something you see on a TV screen. Real people have real lives that matter, that have value. And the people who do go through these schools and are hell-bent on killing these people don't seem to think about the fact that these lives that they are taking are attached to other lives. It doesn't matter. That idea, that concept does not matter. They don't seem to care about the fact that this kid might be a brother to an autistic sister, or a caretaker to his grandparents with Alzheimer's, or, anything like that. It doesn't matter. People need to understand that lives do matter. People need to start seeing the value in a human life again, because we have become so disconnected from this idea, and that everything that we need is physical or monetary. People don't seem to remember the soul and emotions and feelings anymore. And that's why they don't have this conscience telling them no. And Brianna and I discussed that we can never be so detached from our conscience to make the choice of taking another life. There's no way. Because we see the value. We see the connections. We see all the possibilities for other people. So it's so hard to see this happening like every month, and then twice in a week. I wish there was some way for me to fully comprehend what goes through these people's minds, but I can't. I can't, because I have empathy for other human beings. And for the people that don't think that this is a huge deal, you need to reevaluate yourselves and reevaluate your priorities and what matters to you in this life. A few weeks ago, probably a month ago, I was in class and our phones went off with an alert saying that there was a man driving around campus that had threatened students with a gun. And I remember just staring at my phone, thinking to myself, oh, we're going to be the next school. Alright. And the most sickening part is the fact that, again, it wasn't a surprise to me. I didn't want it to happen, but somewhere I knew that, there was no way that we would go unscathed. At one point or another, we would be hit. because that's just how it's becoming. And so I remember I kept staring at my phone, not knowing what I should do, not knowing what we should do, not knowing if we should leave, not knowing if I would be able to even get home. And just being terrified and stuck. Not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to say. I didn't hear anything after that point, but it was just this moment where I thought, oh, I'm gonna die today. I don't think people understand how much weight goes into that moment or that recognition until they themselves are in that situation. I mean, I already did from things that happened at my high school, but everything that happened back then wasn't as frequent as it is now. And this frequency is appalling and shocking and horrifying and sickening. And another thing that bothers me regarding the school shootings has nothing to do with the shooters. It has to do with the responses of people and their opinions of the shooters. Stop blaming religion for these murders. Stop. Because faith, a type of religion, a type of faith, is not what put a gun in his hand, is not what pulled the trigger. The shooters pulled the trigger. Not Jesus, not Muhammad, not Buddha. Okay? It was a shooter who made a decision. Maybe faith influenced his choice, but in the end, it was his choice. Not the Bible, not the Quran. And how would it come off if it was an atheist that shot up a school? Oh, I'm so sick of atheism because all these atheists are shooting up schools. How does that fucking sound? Somewhere there needed to be a moral compass. There has to be a moral compass. That had nothing to do with faith. It was simply right and wrong. An innate thought that we are all born with, that we all have grown up to know. Right and wrong. This conscience, okay? Even without faith, we all have it. Because we all have this gut feeling about if we do something, it'll be bad, or if we do something, it'll be good. Okay? So stop blaming faith. Blame the people who don't have a moral compass, are so detached that they don't hear the screaming in their head telling them no, and instead go into a locker room and cause bloodshed. Stop blaming the faith. Stop blaming faith. Just stop. Okay? Every faith has a golden rule. Okay? Every faith has the do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Every faith has that rule. Okay? They are obviously not following that faith. If they were, they wouldn't do this. And the people that are doing things in the name of God or whatever, that create massive slaughter, they are contorting the faith. They are twisting it. Okay? They're turning it into this vile pile of thorns. And that is not what the core of these faiths are. So, what needs to happen is people need to realize that what they say can really hurt other people. Not saying that justifies murdering innocent lives, but that could certainly help. That can certainly lower the amount of rage. And people need to start becoming more aware, more emotionally aware, or more empathetic or sympathetic to the people that are around them. And realize that it's not only their lives that matter, that the world does not revolve around them, but we are all part of this giant web that is life. We are all connected to each other somehow, in some way. We all share the same air. We are all walking on the same planet. People need to remember that.